Welcome to a special edition of Bracket Science, the Bracket Science podcast, along with being on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm your host, Brandon Jadich, and with this slow week of college basketball going on, we're going to do some bracketology. We're going to discuss what the NCAA tournament would look like right now. We've spent hours upon hours putting together what we believe is a perfect field, a near identical field. We've compared just about every team there is to compare. We're going to be filling out the bracket together. I'm going to be filling this in with you. And it is an honor for me to start off with the overall number one seed, the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona is without a doubt the number one team in the nation right now. They just blew out Wisconsin by 1,000,000. They'll be tested this upcoming week against Purdue on Saturday. Arizona is number two at KenPom, number one in the AP poll, and they are without a doubt the best team in the nation. And the team they'll play on Saturday, Purdue, will be our second number one seed off the board. They won the Maui Invitational. They picked up that big win, the championship there against Marquette. They beat Alabama last week. They got Zach Edey. He's the best player in college basketball. Purdue's the second overall number one seed. Moving on, the third number one seed will be Kansas. Kansas has looked good as of late, just beating their rivals, Missouri. They beat UConn on their home floor. That's probably one of the best wins of the year so far. Kansas is ranked number 10 at KenPom and number 2 in the AP poll currently. Our fourth and final number one seed is the team that Kansas matched up with in Allen Fieldhouse just a couple weeks ago, the Connecticut Huskies. Coming off a defending championship, they are currently fourth at KenPom and fifth in the AP poll. It was a toss-up between UConn and Houston as our fourth number one seed. When comparing the teams, UConn's quality wins are just a little bit better. UConn beat North Carolina. They beat Texas. Houston, quite frankly, has not had the toughest schedule so far. Houston's undefeated, but UConn better wins and a pretty good loss if you can count that against Kansas at Kansas. But nevertheless, our first number two seed, which obviously will be in the UConn division as it goes in reverse order, kind of like a snake draft. It is Houston. Houston 10-0. They're number one at KenPom right now. They're the best defensive team in the nation. They're currently number 4 in the AP poll. These two teams could be interchangeable. I see it, but UConn's wins are just better, in my opinion. Houston's a great team, nevertheless. They may even be favored to win this side of the bracket over UConn. Two very good teams. Neither team I would want to run into. Our number 2 seed in Kansas's division is Marquette. Marquette actually beat Kansas by 14 in the Maui Invitational and looked really good, but they have suffered 2 losses since then. That loss against Wisconsin is a tough one. They lost to Purdue, which is fair. Purdue is very good. But as of right now, Marquette with the 2 losses at 8-2 on the year would be the 2 seed in Kansas's region. They're number 5 at KenPom right now and number 7 in the AP poll. Our third number 2 seed in the Purdue region would be the Baylor Bears. With Scott Drew leading them, this team is incredible. They got some good transfers coming in. They're 9-0 on the year. They're yet to lose. They've done everything they have been asked to do. They're currently number 7 at KenPom and number 6 in the AP poll. Our final 2 seed is Creighton. Creighton entering Arizona's region. Creighton may be the most undervalued team in the country right now. They're currently number 8 in the AP poll. They suffered that loss to Colorado State earlier in the year to a red-hot Colorado State team. They're still 6th at KenPom. They have Bailey Shireman, Ryan Kalkbrenner, Trey Alexander. They have all the pieces. I really like this Creighton team. Let's move on to the 3 seeds, starting with Tennessee. Tennessee is our first 3 seed, and we believe our highest ranked 3 seed. They're only 6-3 on the year. They're still 9th at KenPom. We know how tough of a schedule they've played. I think they run through the SEC this year. Kentucky really being their only competition. Got a couple other surprise teams in there. Auburn's really good. Texas A&M has not looked good. But even South Carolina. Tennessee is the best team in this conference, though. Dalton Connect is a difference maker. I see them. I have them in the bracketology as having an automatic bid because I believe they will for sure win the SEC this year. Nevertheless, moving on to our second number 3 seed, back to Purdue's region. we have the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Gonzaga just suffered a loss against Washington at Washington. They don't seem to have the same offensive firepower since losing Drew Timme, but they still have a very solid team, and they got Mark Few over there, and he definitely knows what he's doing. They're our second 3 seed. They're ranked 12th at KenPom right now and 10th in the AP poll. Let's move on to North Carolina as our third 3 seed down in Kansas's region. A couple blue bloods in that region, Kansas, North Carolina, and Marquette as of right now. North Carolina is currently 7-2 on the year. They suffered losses to Villanova and UConn. They're 16th at KenPom, but 9th in the AP poll right now. We've talked on our pod a lot about how much talent this team has. I see them being the most talented team in the ACC, not saying they're the best team. I have them as a 3 seed right now at 7-2. We'll see how they do going forward. Can't wait for that Duke North Carolina game this year. Our final 3 seed, also coming out of the ACC, is Clemson, undefeated Clemson team at 9-0 right now. They are still only 25th at KenPom. They're 13th in the AP poll right now. PJ Hall may be the best player in the ACC. They're off to a good start. Hopefully they can keep it going. Also in their division, who is also going to be undefeated, the first 4 seed will be Oklahoma. Oklahoma also 9-0 on the season. They're ranked 19th at KenPom, 11th in the AP poll. They just beat Arkansas by 9, but it felt like it should have been a lot more than 9. They led by double figures the entire game. This region right now, something to note, we have UConn as the 1 seed, and then Houston, Clemson, Oklahoma, 3 undefeated teams in this region as of now. Oklahoma, we know how good they can be. We'll see. We'll see going forward. I expect them to drop a little bit just because of that tough Big 12 schedule. But right now, I have them as a 4 seed. Second 4 seed, Florida Atlantic, out of the American Conference. They have had a little bit of a rough go of it so far. That tough loss against Bryant. They got beat by Illinois. They've got some quality wins in there. They beat Liberty by 1 million, it felt like. They're still a very solid team. They ran through the ESPN invite. They're ranked 20th at KenPom right now and 15th in the AP poll. Florida Atlantic will be just fine. Team right behind them is the team who beat them, Illinois, at 7-2. They're our third number 4 seed. They have Terrence Shannon. They have Marcus Domask. Illinois, I expect to finish in the top 3 of the Big Ten. I project them second right now. I could see them falling to maybe third. I think they have a very good chance to be a top 4 team come March Madness. They're currently ranked 14th at KenPom and 16th in the AP poll, just behind Florida Atlantic in the AP poll, even though they beat them on a neutral site. Something to look at there. Our final 4 seed is the Kentucky Wildcats, John Calipari's team. Very young, very talented. They have that dominating win over Miami, Florida. They also have that questionable loss against UNC Wilmington at home. Nevertheless, they're still ranked 22nd at KenPom and 14th in the AP poll this week. Moving on to another very talented team who is very questionable, though. We'll say that. It's the Wisconsin Badgers. Wisconsin just got blown out by Arizona, which is expected. They have that huge win over Marquette and a very good win over Virginia. They are 7-3 on the year. They're ranked 15th at KenPom right now and 23rd in the AP poll. Very high KenPom rating, which means they're a very efficient team and a very good team. I have them as the first number 5 seed. Second number 5 seed has surprised a lot of people. BYU, they enter Purdue's region. BYU 8-1 on the year, suffered their first loss against Utah in an in-state rivalry game the other day. They're ranked 8th at KenPom and 18th in the AP poll. The computers love this BYU team. They see a lot of talent going over their first year in the Big 12. We'll see how they do once the Big 12 schedule is ongoing. Our third 5 seed, maybe the biggest surprise team so far this year, James Madison out of the Sun Belt. They picked up that win over Michigan State in their opener this year, which is starting to look less and less like a good win as Michigan State continues to fall. You will know, I'll just spoil it right now. Michigan State is not in this turn in our bracketology as of right now, nor should they be at 4-5 on the year. Nevertheless, James Madison is still 9-0 on the year. They should run through their conference. They are 71st at KenPom though, but they're 20th in the AP poll. I have them as a 5 seed. I still think they deserve a 5 seed. They have a very good chance of even going undefeated this year. They play that weak of a schedule, and they're a good basketball team. I have them as a 5 seed. Our final 5 seed is Virginia. Tony Bennett's squad has looked up and down. They got beat by Wisconsin by a lot early in the year. They are 8-1. That's their only loss. They're ranked 24th at KenPom and 22nd in the AP poll this week. They just re-entered the AP poll. I think last week it was. But moving on to our 6 seeds, our projected Mountain West winner is Colorado State. Who would have ever thought that would be said? They are currently 9-1. They just suffered their first loss against St. Mary's. They're 26th at KenPom and 17th in the AP polls. The computers really seem to like them. They have Isaiah Stevens, who may be one of the top 5 point guards in all of college basketball. Great team going on over there. Let's move on to Memphis out of the American Conference as our second 6 seed. They will be in Kansas's region as of right now. Memphis, David Jones leading them to a 7-2 start. They're currently 34th at KenPom, and they are not ranked in the AP poll this week. But they look good. A lot of people are really high on them right now, and as they should be. Penny Hardaway has a good thing going on over there. Let's move on to our third 6 seed, which is the Auburn Tigers. Auburn with a questionable loss against Appalachian State. They had a great game to rebound against Indiana, and boy, did they won 104-70, 72 or 76, I think it was. Whatever it was ugly. An absolute blowout. They are currently 11th at KenPom. They really like the computers really like this team. They have Johnny Broom, they have Bruce Pearl. They got a lot of talent over there. Never count Auburn out of a March Madness run. Our final 6 seed, and you may have noticed we have not said their name yet. It is Duke. As of right now, Duke, I do not see higher than a 6 seed. They haven't beaten anyone, quite frankly. They're 6-3. They're 17th at KenPom, 21st in the AP poll right now. They beat Michigan State, if you consider that a good win, which we just talked about. Same thing with James Madison. I have them as a 6 seed right now. They'll figure it out. They got a lot of talent. John Shire's very smart coach over there. Our first 7 seed in that same region with Duke, which is also the region of Arizona, top left region of the bracket, is Northwestern. Northwestern picked up that pivotal win against Purdue, obviously early in the year. In overtime, they have Boo Buie. He's a special player in the Big Ten. They're 7-1 on the year. 41st at KenPom and 25th in the AP poll. 41st at KenPom is a little bit scary to me, but Boo Buie, he is a stud. I really like this Northwestern team, and I seem to pick them every year in March Madness, I feel like, to win at least one game. They're our first 7 seed. Our second 7 seed is Alabama. Alabama, a little bit disappointing this year. Same story over there with Nate Oates as the coach. They're always very good. They have a great offense, best offense in the nation right now, I think, at KenPom. I'm pretty sure they're number 1 in the nation. But their defense has been struggling. They gave up 92 points the other day to Purdue. When Mark Sears had a career game, had 35 points, there's no reason they should have lost that game, and they did, which it's Purdue. I get it. It's tough guarding Zach Edey. They're still without Nick Pringle. They're without a key piece. I really like this Alabama team. They're 6-3, but they are ranked 13th at KenPom. This team's got a lot of talent going on over there. I think Nate Oates will figure it out as long as they can play just a little bit of defense. 7 seed in the bottom right quadrant with Kansas is the Miami Hurricanes. This team has been very disappointing so far. I love this team coming into the year. I thought they lost Nigel Pack. Did they lose Nigel? No, they have Nigel Pack. What am I talking about? They lost Isaiah Wong. That's the word I was looking for. But anyways, I thought this team had all the pieces coming in. Norchad Omier, Nigel Pack, and Wooga Poplar. I thought they had a very nice team coming in. They were one of my preseason Final Four, and I may have been wrong. I'll admit that. They're 7-2 on the year. They just got killed by Colorado by 27. They got blown out. They're 55th at KenPom, which is also a little bit scary. None of the computers seem to like them, but they're 24th in the AP poll. They're kind of like Texas right now. I see them as 2 very similar teams, kind of disappointing on the year. I think they'll figure it out come the ACC. Jim Larinaga knows what he's doing over there. Let's move on to our third 7 seed, our final 7 seed, excuse me. kind of another disappointing team, the Texas A&M Aggies. Another team I loved coming in the preseason with Wade Taylor, Henry Coleman, Tyrese Radford. I thought this team was going to be great in the preseason, and they just strictly have not been. They're 7-3. They just got beat on their home floor against Memphis. Wade Taylor has not looked great this year, and we know he is their star. They're still 23rd at KenPom. I think Buzz Williams will figure it out. I really like all the talent that this team has. Let's move on to our first 8 seed, the team that just beat Miami by 27, Colorado Buffaloes. They are currently 7-2 on the year and ranked 21st at KenPom. They have a very nice squad going on over there. They took that loss to Colorado State early in the year, but they still look good. They got a great offensive team over there. I have them as the first 8 seed. Let's move on to our second 8 seed, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ohio State suffered a tough loss to Penn State last week, where they blew a 18-point second half lead. They look good. Chris Holtman's got a nice thing going on over there. They got a guy named Bruce Thornton who is a baller. I really like Ohio State. I think they will continue to get better and move up the rankings here a little bit. I expect to see them in the top 25 at some point during the year. I think they got a good chance going for that. Moving on to Texas is our third 8 seed. Texas started off the year with a lot of promise. Everyone really seemed to like this team. Max Abesmith, they've been very disappointing. They're 7-2. They're 36th at KenPom and still 19th in the AP poll. For some reason, I don't see that they should be ranked right now. Their best win is against Louisville. Yeah, Louisville, who just got beat by DePaul. Louisville or even Wyoming at Texas, which is also not a great win. They kind of blew them out, and Wyoming's a solid team. But it's still Texas. They have a lot of talent. They still have Max Abesmith. I think they'll figure it out a little bit. They'll really be tested come Big 12 play. They just haven't really beat anyone, so they don't have much of a case for anything. I still have them as an 8 seed right now, just based on they've blown out some teams that they should blow out. I'll just say it that way. Our final 8 seed is Mississippi State. And Mississippi State has been also kind of disappointing this year. They are 28th at KenPom right now. They're 7-2 on the year. Suffered some bad losses, beat some good teams. This team's very up and down. I'm not sure on this team. I still think they have a resume where they should definitely be in the NCAA tournament right now. So let's move on to a few bubble teams. This is usually where it starts, starting with the 9 seeds. But I still have some of these teams comfortably in, starting with Iowa State. I have Iowa State as a 9 seed. I wanted to put them as an 8 seed, but I just couldn't see bumping any of those 8 seeds down to a 9 seed. So they are our first 9 seed. They are 8-2 on the year and ranked 18th at KenPom. Very nice start for Iowa State. Our second 9 seed is Ole Miss, undefeated on the year. Wherever Chris Beard goes, he wins, and he is continuing this trend at Ole Miss. They just got Musa Cisse back, and they are 9-0 to start the year, but they're ranked 90th at KenPom right now. A little bit scary. They haven't played much, but every game that they've played, they've won. They just were tested at UCF and beat a solid UCF team on their home floor. Great start for Ole Miss. Next, our third 9 seed in Kansas's region, something to take note of, is Kansas State. We have them taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes in a great matchup, 8-9 matchup there. Kansas State was not supposed to be good this year, and Jerome Tang is just a winner. They got the news that Naquan Tomlin is going to Memphis, but no matter what game you throw Kansas State in, they've won. They were underdogs against LSU at LSU, which I thought was very disrespectful, and they went in and beat them by 15. Jerome Tang knows how to win. I have them as our third 9 seed right now, comfortably in the tournament. Our final 9 seed, where we really start to begin the bubble teams, is Cincinnati. Cincinnati suffered their first loss against crosstown rival Xavier. And Xavier desperately picked up a desperate win there. They are currently out of our tournament, as well as they should be at 5-5. Cincinnati still 7-1. They're 30th at KenPom. Got a good thing going over there. They'll really be tested come Big 12 play. As long as they keep it around 500 in the Big 12, I see them making the tournament. We'll see how it goes for them. Our first 10 seed, Utah. Yes, we do have Utah in our tournament. They're 7-2 on the year. 37th at Ken Palm. They just picked up that signature win against BYU. The Pac-12 is pretty weak this year, I would consider, other than Arizona and Colorado. Oregon's okay. I expect them to win a lot of games in the Pac-12 this year. Washington and Washington State are also decent teams. But I like this Utah team. I think they got a lot of talent. I watched them against St. John's, and I didn't like them, but every game I've watched them since then, they've looked pretty good. They're 37th at Ken Palm, solid ranking. They're our first 10 seed. Moving on, our second 10 seed is TCU. TCU suffered their first loss of the year against Clemson. They should have got beaten that game against Georgetown where they hit that buzzer beater and he stepped out of bounds, but we won't count that. They put up a good fight against Clemson. It looked like a very good basketball game in that Clemson TCU game. They're currently 38th at Ken Palm, and I have them as a 10 seed in our tournament. Our next 10 seed, South Carolina, also only lost one game on the year. They're 8-1. They are 53rd at Ken Palm, I'm pretty sure. They got Michi Johnson. Michi Johnson's having a career year, the former Ohio State transfer. I think this team has a chance to win some games in the SEC. We know how deep the SEC is. We'll see how it goes for them going forward. Michi Johnson is a point guard that can make plays for you, though. I'm rooting for this South Carolina team. I like to see them succeed. Finally, our last 10 seed, and this is where we're starting to get into the automatic bids. This team would be a bubble team no matter what, but we have Dayton Flyers. I have them winning the A10 conference. They're 7-2 on the year, and they're ranked 57th at Ken Palm. Pretty solid for an A10 team. I think they got St. Joe's, they got St. Bonaventure in their conference. I think Dayton ends up winning it. They play great defense. They shoot a ton of threes every game. Every shot you see them take is pretty much a three. I have them as a 10 seed in the tournament right now. Our first 11 seed, we are going to skip because those will be the first 4 games. Our second 11 seed in the top right region is an automatic bid. They do not have to play. Not an automatic bid, but they are they're in the tournament. They're not in the first 4. It is San Diego State. San Diego State is currently 8-2 on the year and 32nd at Ken Palm. They suffered their losses to BYU and Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon blazing hot as of now. Our second 11 seed in the bottom right quadrant is also a Mountain West team in Nevada. Nevada, one of our last 4 in. I think they're going to be all right. They just suffered their first loss against Drake badly. They got beat by 19. They're 61st at Ken Palm. I still have them in as of right now. Let's move on to the 12 seeds before we talk about our last 4 in. 12 seeds. Starting in the bottom left quadrant is Princeton. Everyone expects to see them as a 12 seed, and I am so excited to see how many people take Princeton to win a game, if not a couple games in this NCAA tournament. They're 9-1. They just got beat at St. Joe's by 4. Not a bad loss at all. They're 52nd at Ken Palm. Even the computers really like them. I'm excited to see how this Princeton team does. Our second 12 seed is Grand Canyon. We would have a James Madison Grand Canyon matchup. Battle of 2 purple teams. And give me Grand Canyon in this game. They're 8-1. They're 64th at Ken Palm, and I love this team. They have athleticism. They have everything you need to make a Cinderella story. Watch out for Grand Canyon this year. I expect them to run through the whack. Third, number 12 seed is not an automatic bid team, but a team I have as the last team in general that gets a first round bye. It is Providence. Providence, our third 12 seed. They are currently 8-2 on the year and 47th at Ken Palm. They've looked okay. They've looked good in other games. They've looked bad in a few games. I saw them against Wisconsin earlier in the year, and they got off to a blazing hot start, and that we didn't think much of that win but now, obviously, as Wisconsin has continued to climb up the AP poll, this Providence win looks very good. Our final 12 seed is the Drake Bulldogs. We just talked about them blowing out Nevada. They're a great basketball program going on over there. They're 9-1 right now, 65th at Ken Palm. These 12 seeds, if this is the way it ended, would be incredible. Drake, Princeton, Providence, and Grand Canyon. I would probably take all four of them. How can you not? Great matchups there. Let's move on to the 13 seed, and the 13 seeds are almost just as good as the 12 seeds. Starting with Liberty in that top left quadrant, we would have them taking on the Kentucky Wildcats. Liberty off to a 7-3 start, have really cooled down as of late. They're 69th at KenPom. I still expect them to win their conference. I've seen them play quite a few games. That Florida Atlantic game scares me a little bit. They were my Cinderella team at first, not anymore. I have them down to a 13 seed. They were a 12 seed last week. Hopefully they can figure it out. Next 13 seed is UNC Greensboro. They're off to a great start this year. They're 8-1 and ranked 107th at KenPom. They beat Arkansas earlier in the year. They got a nice thing going on over there. Let's move on to another UNC team, our third 13 seed, UNC Wilmington, who also picked up a key win early in the year against Kentucky. They're 7-2 on the year, ranked 119th at KenPom. I really like this team. I think they're going to have to go through a tough Charleston squad to make the NCAA tournament, but I think if they do, they would be a 13, maybe sneak into the 14 range. Right now, they would be a 13 seed, though. Finally, our last 13 seed is McNeese State. They're 7-2 on the year, and the computer loves these guys. If you guys follow KenPom in general, so they were up at the top for a while. They were top 50, I think, maybe top 70. They're down to 98 now, but they look good. I like McNeese State. Haven't really seen much of them, but the computers obviously like them, so they know more than me. So let's move on to the 14 seeds. We have Vermont as our first 14 seed. I've watched Vermont quite a bit this year. They're a little bit inconsistent. They're 8-3 on the year, 136th at KenPom. Snuck out that win against Yale. They could easily be 7-4 right now, where they worst beat I've ever seen in my life for Yale bettors. Saw a lot of angry bettors on that one. But I like this Vermont team. They got a guy named TJ Long. He's a stud. They got he could lead them. Watch out for Vermont come March Madness. You know they can always shoot the three, and if they get hot, watch out. Our next 14 seed, Norfolk State. Norfolk State picked up that key win at VCU. Every game they seem to be underdogs and they seem to win. I mean, they've been big underdogs, 10.5, 7.5 point underdogs, and they go into their opponent's building and they win. I like what I see from this team. Computers do not like that as much. They are ranked 226 at KenPom, which I find interesting, even with that key win at VCU. I like Norfolk State, though. Our third 14 seed is Kent State. Kent State picked up that tough loss against James Madison earlier in the year, but they showed they can play with James Madison. They're 7-3, 103rd at KenPom, which is a very good ranking for a 14 seed in our tournament. Normally you see those MAC schools, Mid-American Conference schools, around the 12, 13 max. Right now I have them as 14. This conference a little weaker than usual. Akron's not great. OU's not great. Northern Illinois has a solid team, but I do expect Kent State to win this division or win this conference. I have them as a 14 seed right now. Last 14 seed, the best name in this tournament, Longwood. 10-1 on the year, ranked 152nd at KenPom. Yes, they're 10-1. They don't play in a great conference. I have them as a 14 seed right now. Our first 15 seed, a team to always watch out for, especially as a 15 seed. A lot of people will be taking them. Colgate, your favorite toothpaste. They're 6-4 on the year, 137th at KenPom though. Joe Lenardi, I was looking at his bracketology for a little bit. He had them a lot higher. At 6-4, I don't know how you have them any higher. I saw some of their wins, some of their losses. They're a 15 seed right now. 137th at KenPom, though, nevertheless, the computers seem to like them. Maybe if they run through their conference, which they should, they'll move up to a 14 or 13 seed. I don't see them getting anywhere past a 12 seed, though. Second 15 seed is Morehead State. Morehead State, they picked up that huge win, years ago against Louisville in the March Madness, that huge 3. That's every time I think of Morehead State, that's the game I think of, but they're 7-3 on the year, nevertheless. Great little team going on over there. 156th at KenPom, pretty solid. Finally, our third our third 15 seed is Hawaii. Hawaii at 7-1 on the year, and their conference is extremely weak. They should run through their conference. They're another team just like Colgate. If they run through their conference, they could squeak up to a 13 or 14 seed. They're 108th at Ken Palm right now. The computers really like them. Nevertheless, our 15th, our fourth 15 seed is Purdue Fort Wayne. They have already won 10 games on the year. They're 10-1, 154th at Ken Palm. These 15 seeds, very solid in this tournament, which of course we know there's always going to be those Cinderella teams that come through, win their conference tournament. These 15 seeds, I know they seem good now. I'm sure they won't seem as good come March Madness. Right now, they would be Colgate, Morehead State, Hawaii, and Purdue Fort Wayne. I could see any of these teams moving up. Let's move on to the 16 seeds. Let's start with the first 4 games, starting with Bethune Cookman. Yeah, I don't even know who they are. But anyways, they are 5-4 on the year and projected to win their conference. They're 340th at Ken Palm and projected to win their conference. This was one of them that I did not know, and I had to research this conference on who would win it, and this is who came up. This is the one I will admit to. I do not know them, but I would have them facing off against Marist. Marist is 6-2 on the year, and I would expect Marist to win this game, obviously, if it started right now. They're 6-2. They're 211th at Ken Palm. Very solid squad going on over there. Our next first 4 game, we will move down to the bottom left quadrant to play UConn. Would be, bottom left quadrant. Fairleigh Dickinson, just where they were last year as a 16 seed, beating Purdue. They're not as good this year as they were last year, but I would have them in the first 4 game, just like they were last year, taking on South Dakota. This year, I would expect South Dakota to win that first 4 games. South Dakota's 7-3, 271st at Ken Palm. Fairleigh Dickinson is only 6-6 on the year, 316th at Ken Palm. They're not as good as they were last year, but I still have them winning their conference. Their conference is very weak. I have them sneaking into the tournament. I think they would play another first 4 game though. You never know. You never know. Same spot. That sounds a little too weird. Let's move on to the other 16 seeds. Another team that made the tournament last year in the top right region against Purdue, Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State is 7-3 on the year, ranked 222nd at Ken Palm. They were just Division II a couple years ago, and they have turned it around in Division I. They have a great program going on over there. Let's move on to the last 16 seed we'll talk about, and that is Portland State at 8-2 on the year, 147th at Ken Palm. They would take on a Kansas team and try and take down Hunter Dickinson. This is our tournament as of right now. This is what we have. Oh, let's talk about the first 4 games, though. First 4 games. Let's talk about the teams that were considered for the first 4 games, starting with, I'm not going to make it too obvious for you guys on who's the first 4 and who's the first 4 out. Let's start with, we had Washington State, Oregon, New Mexico, Texas Tech, St. Joe's, Missouri, Butler, and Villanova. These were the 8 that were considered. These were the 8 that were bickered a lot on. But our first 4 game in the Arizona quadrant, the top left quadrant, we have New Mexico. New Mexico at 9-1 on the year. They're 33rd at Ken Palm right now. I think they can have a chance to win the Mountain West. The Mountain West has a lot of solid schools. You don't really think of the Mountain West having that many solid schools, but they really do. They're 9-1. I have them playing Villanova. Villanova, with their very disappointing start, they won the battle for Atlantis. I had so much hopes for Kyle Neptune. Not much anymore. If they continue trending on this way, they won't even be in the tournament right now. Just because of that win against UCLA, I have them up. As I said in my last podcast, that game looked like a 7th grade basketball game. I don't see Villanova as a great basketball team right now, but as the resume speaks right now, I have them in the first 4 games. They're still 29th at KenPom because of that Battle for Atlantis victory that carried a lot of weight. Let's move on to our second first 4 game, and this is Thad Matta's squad, Butler. The Butler Bulldogs. This is in the bottom left quadrant, Yukon quadrant, and Butler would be taking on Oregon. Oregon has had some interesting wins. They've had some interesting losses. Same with Butler. Butler, they showed some heart the other day against Cal in overtime. Thad Matta's squad is believing right now. They are one of the hottest teams in the country, believe it or not. I like Butler. I like Oregon. I like this matchup more than I like the New Mexico Villanova matchup, just because to me that seems like a deserving team and a not so deserving team in a way. This Butler Oregon feels like a team that could win, could get hot and move forward in March Madness. Now that completes the bracket. It is filled. Let's have some fun. Let's fill it out. Let's go over the matchups we would have right now. And they are some good ones, starting with Arizona and the winner of Marist and Bethune-Cookman. Who do you think you're going to take in that game? Give me the Wildcats. Without a doubt. Moving down, we'll just go down. We'll go through this quickly. At the 8 seed in this region is Mississippi State versus the 9 seed Iowa State. I would lean Iowa State in this game. I like what Iowa State's got going on over there. 5 seed Wisconsin taking on number 12 Drake. Give me the 12 seeds. Give me Drake. I think Drake can shoot the lights out. Moving down, number 4 Kentucky versus number 13 Liberty. I liked Liberty a lot. I don't think they can match Kentucky's athleticism in this. Give me Kentucky. Duke taking on the winner of New Mexico and Villanova. Man, I don't like any of these teams, unfortunately. I like Duke. I like Duke's talent. I don't like Duke's resume as of right now. I think they'll figure it out by the time March Madness happens. Give me Duke right now. Give me Tennessee over Longwood in the 3-14 matchup. Dayton over Northwestern in the 10-7 matchup. Watch out for Dayton. Not many people like Dayton this year. I just like the way they play come March Madness time. They shoot a lot of threes. They're fast. They play good defense. A lot of athleticism. I like Dayton to win a game there. And then I have Creighton taking down Colgate. Moving back up, now we have the second round, which would be the round of 32. Arizona versus Iowa State. Arizona without a doubt. Drake and Kentucky. I think this is where Kentucky goes down. Drake beats them. 12 seed moves into the Sweet 16. Duke and Tennessee. 2 very, very picked favorites for the preseason, but give me Tennessee. I don't think Duke can handle Tennessee's defense. And Creighton and Davidson, give me Creighton without a doubt. Arizona and Drake, give me Arizona. I love Drake, but Arizona is too good right now. Tennessee, Creighton, this would be a great matchup to see. Dalton Connect versus Bailey Shireman. I have been so big on Creighton all year. Give me Creighton. I don't think that they can. I think they have all the experience that they need to go far in March Madness. I have them in the Elite Eight. And unfortunately for Creighton, I would have Arizona beating Creighton. Moving down, let's go down to UConn versus Fairleigh Dickinson or South Dakota. Come on now. It's UConn, defending champions. Colorado and Cincinnati, I would take Colorado in this matchup. I like what I've seen from Colorado so far this year. Virginia and Princeton, everyone is going to take Princeton. If I were to see this matchup coming in, I think Virginia they're 2 very slow teams. They've slowed the game down a lot. I'm not going to bet against Tony Bennett. I like Virginia in this matchup. Oklahoma taking on McNeese State. Give me McNeese State. The computers love them. I don't know that much about them except for a couple games I've seen, and they got some size, they got some speed. Give me McNeese State over Oklahoma. I'm not so sure on Oklahoma. They have proved themselves, don't get me wrong, so far this year. I would take McNeese State in this game. Now we have Butler and Oregon in that first 4 game taking on Colorado State. I expect Butler to blow out Oregon and then blow out Colorado State. I love Isaiah Stevens. I quite frankly do not think they're the real deal as of right now. Give me Thad Matta's squad in Butler. Clemson taking on Vermont. Vermont has some talent, but Clemson has PJ Hall and Joe Girard. Give me Clemson. Texas A&M versus Utah. Give me A&M. They still have Wade Taylor. They have experience in the tournament. And then that Houston, Purdue, Fort Wayne game. Give me Houston. No doubt about it. Moving back up, UConn and Colorado. UConn, never a doubt. They're a complete team. They have Dan Hurley. Dan Hurley is going to have them ready come March Madness. Virginia and McNeese State. I like Virginia this year. I like the Cavaliers, Tony Bennett. I know they have that tough loss against Wisconsin. They've looked great ever since then. Butler and Clemson. This is a 50-50 game here. Butler, a very good defensive team. Clemson, a very good defensive team. Butler, a little shaky on offense. They score a lot of points, but they've had some troubles with some field goal percentage. Clemson is never going to struggle with PJ Hall, and that is why I would take the Clemson Tigers. And then Houston, without a doubt, over A&M. Give me UConn to beat Virginia and Houston to beat Clemson. Sorry, PJ Hall. And then in this UConn-Houston game, the game that the teams that we discussed, who has more quality wins, we gave UConn the edge. I think Houston would win this game. I think it's an LJ Cryer revenge tour. Let's move on to the top right quadrant. Purdue taking on Kennesaw State, who has some experience in the tournament. Will people bet against Purdue? They might. We know that they do not perform come the tournament unless they have someone by the name of Carson Edwards. But give me Purdue. I think Purdue is much better this year than they were last year. We'll see. Moving on, we have Texas taking on Ole Miss. Wow, that would be a matchup. Chris Beard's former team versus Chris Beard's new team. This is probably my least favorite 8 versus 9 matchup. I don't think either team, quite frankly, is very good. Ole Miss is undefeated. I still just don't think they have that much talent. I would probably take Texas in this game. I think Max Absmith has enough talent to carry his team over Chris Beard and Ole Miss. BYU as the 5 seed and Providence as the 12 seed. This is a game a lot of people will take Providence, and I'm telling you, do not bet against BYU right now. BYU looks very good. The computers love them. All the analysis love them. They're a good team. Illinois, UNC Greensboro. Give me Illinois. Terrence Shannon, Marcus Domask. Auburn, San Diego State. Without even thinking, San Diego State. Give me Jadon Ledee. We'll see. Gonzaga versus Kent State. This is going to be the big upset pick of the bracket. Give me Kent State. I haven't seen enough of Gonzaga that tells me that they are a tournament-ready team. I think Mark Few is great. Don't get me wrong. He's got the most wins at a single school. I just don't think that they have. I'm not as much betting on Kent State as I am betting against Gonzaga. We'll see how that goes going forward. Number 7-10 matchup, Alabama versus South Carolina. Give me Alabama in this. I like Mark Sears. I think Mark Sears just is better than Michi Johnson. I like Michi Johnson, but I think he's just better. I would take Alabama in this matchup. Baylor and Morehead State, without even a doubt, Baylor. Baylor is the better team by a mile there. Purdue and Texas, give me Purdue. Purdue looks good. Illinois, BYU. As I said, I love BYU, but I love Terrence Shannon even more. I think he is an absolute star. Give me Illinois to beat BYU. Kent State and San Diego State, 11-14 matchup. You know we're going to run into one somewhere. This is where I have it. Give me Kent State. I think Kent State beats up on San Diego State after carrying the momentum after beating Gonzaga. We'll see if this will probably end up biting me in the butt. Akron will probably end up winning that conference or something. Maybe OU. We'll see. Alabama and Baylor. This would be a great second round matchup, but I would take Baylor in this game. They have too much firepower. And then Purdue, Illinois. Give me Purdue. Not. Give me Illinois. Illinois and Terrence Shannon, a battle of Big Ten. Purdue loses in the Sweet 16 again. Kent State and Baylor. Give me Baylor. And then I think Baylor beats Illinois. Baylor has a great offense over there. They have Scott Drew, maybe the best coach in college basketball. Yep, I'm going to say that about someone else. I love Scott Drew. Moving down to our final region, Kansas and Portland State. Kansas, no doubt. Ohio State, Kansas State. Sorry, Chris Holtman. I love both of these coaches, Chris Holtman, Jerome Tang. Give me Kansas State. James Madison and Grand Canyon, not even a doubt. Grand Canyon, they are my boys. Florida Atlantic and UNC Wilmington. Florida Atlantic wins that game with ease. Florida Atlantic, watch out for them if they make a top 5 seed in March Madness, they will make a run. I am promising you that. Memphis as the 6 seed and Nevada as the 11 seed. Give me Memphis. We'll see if Naquan Tomlin is ready by then. I like their chances a lot. We'll see if they run through their conference along with FAU. That might be a very good battle in the American Athletic Conference there. I think they would beat Nevada in this game. North Carolina and Norfolk State. I would think about this game a little bit more, but give me North Carolina. North Carolina has too much talent. We know if they get hot, they're maybe the best team in the nation, but I would take them over Norfolk State. And then Miami, TCU. Give me Miami. Luka Poplar wins them that game, but I don't see them winning any more than that. And then Marquette takes down Hawaii in a weirdly kind of close game there, I would say. Let's go back up. Kansas, Kansas State. Some very interesting second round matchups going on here. Give me Kansas, no doubt. Yes, I know. I have every number 1 seed moving on to the Sweet 16 at least. I'm basic. I get it. Florida Atlantic and Grand Canyon. My boys from last year, Florida Atlantic. I loved them last year. I love Grand Canyon this year as the Cinderella story. John L. Davis, Elijah Martin, Vlad Golden, too much. Give me Florida Atlantic. Memphis and North Carolina. Give me Memphis, without a doubt. Penny Hardaway got something going over there. Marquette beats Miami, and then I think Marquette beats Memphis. And then we have that Kansas-Florida Atlantic matchup where once again, Kansas gets beat by FAU. FAU moves into the Elite 8, and Marquette beats FAU to move on to the Final 4. So our Final 4 teams would be Arizona, Houston, Baylor, and Marquette as of right now. Arizona beats Houston, and Baylor beats Marquette. And Arizona is the best team in the nation. They're going to lose a few games. If they don't, that would be nuts. But they're going to lose a few games coming forward. Look back at this video in a few months. Arizona is the most talented team. They're the most put together team. They play together the best. They should win the national championship this year. Caleb Love, Pele Larson, Omar Ballo. They have so much talent. Boswell, Johnson. They got Krivas coming off the bench, who's 7'2". They're very similar to this UConn team last year. If I can compare them, he's coming off the bench just like Donovan Clingan was coming off the bench. They don't have a soft spot. They play together so well. We know Arizona seems to choke every year in the tournament. They got beat by Princeton last year. I don't see it happening this year. They are the best team in the nation. Give me Arizona all the way over Baylor in the national championship. I hope you guys had a little bit of fun with this. This is our bracketology. We will be posting the entire list on our Facebook, on Twitter, on our website, which was just created, bracketscience.weebly.com. We post everything on there. We write articles every single day about some of the biggest matchups going on. We update our rankings on there, our hierarchy of hoops, we call it. We post the best bets. We have the best bets on there for the national champion right now. Take Arizona, just as I did. There's a few other teams that we could definitely see winning the national championship. This was just for the fun of it. I wanted to fill out a bracket. Why not? It's the best time of year. We have a great college basketball day coming up on Saturday. I will be previewing some of those games on Saturday morning, very early in the morning. Check our podcast then. And then I will be posting a podcast with the reactions to those scores after that game. We'll post some of our best bets. We'll do just about everything. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at Bracket Science, 2 words, and on Twitter at Bracket Science with 2 S's. For updates, biggest games, Naquan Tomlin just transferred. We posted that. We post everything college basketball. I will also post a blank version of our bracketology where I want everyone to just enjoy your time and fill out a bracket. If this were the bracket, how would you fill it out? Send it in. We're curious to see. Our opinion's not the only one that's right. We'll see how it goes come March. We'll continue updating bracketology with big losses, with big wins, everything college basketball. Thanks again for tuning in. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Wednesday. See you later.